Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to DCS World 2.9.1 and Heat Blur Simulations AJS37 Viggen module. Welcome to Bonus 2, Navigational Fixes. Today I'm going to cover the two standard ways of doing navigational fixes for the purposes of updating your aircraft's position. Over time, the TerNav system used by the aircraft will drift, and there will be positional inaccuracies, especially after a period of flying, and especially if there's been heavy manoeuvring, or your radar, altimeter, or Doppler nav system have not always had contact with the ground. These systems generate automatic position fixes during the course of your flight, you see. You can determine the current status of your TerNav system by looking at the CK37 computer output. If you're in actual position mode and in output mode, digit number 5 will always display the current status of your TerNav system. If it's 0, then the system is off. If it's 1, it is in standby and not producing automatic fixes. If it's in 2, then the system is in rough search mode, so it's trying to roughly determine your current position, but it's not generating updates yet. 3 would mean that it's achieved fine search, but it's still not generating updates yet. And if it displays a 5, as it is right now, that means the system is completely operating normally and it is generating these little fixes. Now, even with these automated fixes, though, the system will still drift. It will simply drift more slowly. So we have two manual methods of generating fixes. We have visual mode, which involves overflying a waypoint position and then generating an update, or radar, in which we can use the radar cursor to reposition, to generate a fix basically for the waypoint. So usually what you're going to do is one of your navigational waypoints, in my case I've chosen B4, which is the one after this one, will be positioned over a geographically distinct location, something that you can easily visually determine. If you note that where the aircraft thinks it is and where that very distinct position is differ, you can then generate a fix. This is done using the radar stick and its trigger in both of these modes, whether you're using the radar or not. If you're going to generate a visual fix, then you need to have the radar off in A0 position, and then you will simply pull the radar trigger to its first detent. That will get the system ready to generate a fix, and then as you overfly the geographic location, as you're directly over it, you pull the trigger all the way down and then release, and that will generate a position fix, a position update. Procedure when using the radar is almost exactly the same. The only difference is then the radar has to be on, so you must be in either A1 or A2 mode, whichever suits you best. On the radar, of course, you will always have the circle showing you where the aircraft thinks the waypoint is currently. Again, you'll pull the radar trigger to the first detent. That will give you the cursor on the radar screen. You can then move the cursor using the radar stick over the correct location and then fully depress the trigger to the second detent to generate a new position fix. So I'm first going to demonstrate this with a visual fix, an overfly. So if we come out of pause just now, I'm going to fly towards waypoint 3. When we pass that, the system will automatically switch to waypoint 4, and we'll see if we can determine if we've got much of a drift. I would imagine we probably do. I've actually flown a full flight plan in this particular flight, so there should be at least some drift, and I did do a little bit of hard maneuver. So let's just get over this. And you're probably going to want to reduce your radar range just to get some accuracy here as well. Well, I'm going to turn the radar off just before I do my position fix. Because if you have the radar on, then it will expect you to do a radar fix. Actually, note that as I pull the trigger to detent 1, I get those crosshairs. And as I release, they go away. So, let's see. Also note that the B turns to an E in your waypoint selector. And whenever it's displaying an E, that means it's in the process of taking a position fix. Okay, so let's come around to waypoint 4. We'll fly as accurately as we can towards it. And actually, I'm going to pause here for one moment and go to the F10 map, because you'll see what I've chosen as my geographic location. So the middle of where this lake kind of forks, this is what I'm going to use for my position fix. And I should be able to visually determine that location with a decent amount of accuracy. I'm going to continue to run the radar until I'm a bit closer in this instance, because that will make it easier for me to fly accurately. And let's see if I can identify this position. Once again, I'm going to pull the radar trigger to the first D10, and note that we have a flashing E on the waypoint indicator here. I'm going to release it again, and it goes back to B. Okay, I can see that lake now. I'm going to actually descend a little bit here, and I'm now going to go radar off in the A0 position. This primes the system to do a visual fix and over. And let's see how accurately we can do this. Obviously, the more accurate, the better. You can actually see that right now I'm getting a steering indication to turn right a little bit, but I think I'm actually aiming for the correct location. So that would suggest that, in fact, we do have just a little bit of drift. Yes, there we go. I'm pointing right at where I want to be, and the central indicator is actually giving me a steering input. So we know that, in fact, we have drifted ever so slightly. So we're going to want to do this as accurately as we possibly can. I think I have it in sight. So I'm pulling to the first D10 now, and I'm going to wait until it's underneath the aircraft. Yeah, actually that's definitely drifted a little bit, because it's giving me more and more of a steering input there. 3, 2, 1, full pull and release, and we have now done that overfly fix. And note that because we have a navigational waypoint selected, that actually repositions all waypoints by the same amount. The idea being that the aircraft's positional drift, of course, should be applied to all waypoints. Important thing to note is that if we did this with a target waypoint, if that was M4 instead of B4, it would only move the target waypoint. Doing fixes on target waypoints will only move the target. Doing fixes on navigational waypoints will move the whole flight plan. Okay, so let's get set up to do that again. This time we're going to use the radar. So reselecting waypoint number 4 by pressing B4 on the computer keypad. I'm now going to put the radar to A1 mode, and I'm going to bring that range all the way down to 15 kilometers, because of course we're going to want accuracy here. And then I'm going to bring the aircraft around just outside of 10 kilometers. Obviously, the closer we can get to the waypoint, the better at the time we do the fix, because then it will be more accurate. Let's get ourselves facing towards it in any case, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to try and visually identify the position on the ground on the radar screen. I'm actually going to pop into autopilot just now so I don't mess up. And actually, yes, we do have a fairly good representation. If I pause here, you can see the land here, and you can see where the lake is kind of present here and present here. There is actually a rise in front of it, so we do have kind of some radar shadow here. But I'll let the aircraft get a little bit closer, and I will also increase. Oops, no, don't increase that. Increase the gain a little. Wanted to do. Okay, I'm actually going to active pause, which is kind of cheating. I'm going to active pause right now and zoom right down on the radar so I can give you the best display of what I'm going to do possible. I'm going to pull the radar trigger to T1, and I now have the crosshairs, and I'm going to use the radar stick to move them, and I want to move them directly over the position that I want to define. At this time, we would have E4 displayed in the waypoint indicator. If I now pull the trigger all the way down, we've stored that location, the circle has repositioned itself, and the system is updated. So, let's come out of active pause. You can actually see that my TerraNav system has ended up in 2, which means rough mode, but if we continue to fly a little bit, then it will return to normal. And yeah, look at the waypoint indicator here, trigger at first D10, flashing E, meaning that it's getting ready to do that fix. Excellent, and there you go, TerraNav just flipped back to 5 again. So that is working nicely. So that was a complete demonstration of navigational fixes, both visual, which involve overflying with the radar off, and radar fixes, which involve using the cursor and having the radar on.